Welcome to our channel. This video is part of a series based on the CITB book called Health, Safety and Environment Test for Operatives and Specialists. We guarantee that watching these videos is all you need to do to prepare for your final test. In each video, we will briefly cover a section's key points and then ask questions directly from the CITB book. This video focuses on Section 15, Excavations and Confined Spaces. To make it easy to move through the video series, you will find a link in the top right corner. The actual CSCS test usually takes about 45 minutes, and you need to answer at least 45 out of 50 questions correctly to pass. Before we dive in, please support us by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. We appreciate it. Let us learn together.
Excavations should always have a safe means of access and egress, such as a secured ladder. Excavations should be inspected at the start of every shift or after events that might affect stability. The most accurate way to identify the location of buried services is through the use of trial holes. If you damage an underground service, stop work, do not touch anything, and report it. Permit systems are often used where people are working in confined spaces. There should always be a rescue plan if you are working in a confined space. If you are working in a confined space and the gas alarm sounds, get out immediately.
You are in a deep trench. A lorry backs up to the trench and the engine is left running. What should you do? Put on ear defenders to cut out the engine noise. Ignore the problem, as the lorry will soon drive away. See if there is a toxic gas meter in the trench. Get out of the trench quickly.
What should you do if you see the side supports move when you are working in an excavation? Work in another part of the excavation instead. Keep working and watch to see if they move again. Make sure that you and other workers get out quickly. Nothing. The sides are expected to move all the time. What is the main hazard when working in an excavation? Breathing in hazardous dust from the earth. Cuts and abrasions from the trench sides. Trips and falls due to the space restriction. Crushing if the sides are not supported.
When should an excavation be battered back or stepped? If it is more than 5 meters deep. If there is water in the bottom of the trench. If there is a risk of the sides falling in regardless of depth. If any buried services cross the excavation.
What do guardrails around the top of an excavation prevent? Toxic gases collecting in the bottom of the trench. People falling into the trench and being injured. The sides of the trench collapsing. Rainwater running off the ground at the top and into the trench. What is the safest way to get into and out of a deep excavation? Use an excavator bucket. Use the buried services as steps. Use the shoring or trench supports. Use a fixed staircase.
What equipment should be used when digging near to underground electrical services? An excavator. A jackhammer. A pick and fork. An insulated spade. What does it mean if a run of coloured marker tape is found when digging? The excavation now requires side supports. There are buried human remains, and you must tell your supervisor. There is a buried service, and further excavation must be carried out with care. The soil is contaminated, and you must wear respiratory protective equipment, RPE.
According to the guidance on underground service pipes, what does a yellow service pipe carry? Water, gas, electricity, telecoms.
What 3 things should you do before entering a confined space that has sludge at the bottom? Identify what the sludge is. Have the correct training. Put on a disposable dust mask. Make sure that the space has been tested for gas. Throw something into the sludge to see how deep it is. What should you do if your permit to work in a confined space will run out before you finish the task you are carrying out? Hand the permit over to the next shift. Carry on working until the job is finished. Leave the confined space before the permit runs out. Ask your supervisor to change the date on the permit.
What should you do if you are in a deep trench and you start to feel dizzy? Get out, let your head clear, and then go back in again. Carry on working and hope that the feeling will go away. Make sure that you and any others get out quickly and report it. Sit down in the trench and take a rest.
Why is methane gas dangerous in confined spaces? Give 2 answers. It can explode. It makes you hyperactive. It makes you dehydrated. You may not have enough oxygen to breathe. You will not be able to see because of the dense fumes. What is the most important reason why people should be trained and competent before they are allowed to enter a confined space? Confined spaces never contain breathable air. Confined spaces are only found on house building sites. Confined spaces always contain flammable or explosive gases. Confined space entrants need to understand the potential hazards. What is the main reason for having a person positioned immediately outside a confined space while work is taking place inside it? To carry out a risk assessment for the work. To check compliance with the method statement. To start the rescue plan if there is an emergency. To supervise the work inside the confined space. What is the main cause of people dying while working in a confined space? Lack of oxygen. Too much oxygen. Presence of methane. Cold conditions leading to hypothermia.
What might happen if the level of oxygen drops below 8% in a confined space? Your hearing could be affected. There is a high risk of fire or explosion. You could become unconscious. You might get dehydrated.
When working in a confined space, what is it a sign of if there is a smell of rotten eggs? Oxygen, methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide. What is it likely to mean if the soil gives off a strange smell when digging? The soil contains a lot of clay. The ground could be contaminated. The soil has been excavated before. The ground has been used to grow crops in the past.
Congratulations! You are a step closer to success. Keep learning until you reach your goal. You can find a link in the top right corner to go to the next video.